times as we speak. And to discuss the IPO, I have with me Mika, who tracks this sector very closely. Mika, take us through the first basics of this IPO.
Yeah, the IPO actually opened yesterday on October 21st and will close tomorrow on October 23rd. The total offer size of this IPO is 4,321.4 crores, out of which the fresh issue of shares will be worth 3,600 crores. And we do have existing shareholders and promoters actually selling stake 48 lakh equity shares to be specific, and the offer for sale size stands at 721 crores. The face value of shares is at 10 rupees, but the price band is set at 1,427 to 1,503 rupees per share, and the lot size is at 9. But when you talk about at the upper end of the price band, the
Yeah.
valuation of the company comes around 43,179 crores. So how do the valuations look like for Warrior Energies right now?
It's a little interesting in that sense because this company has been scaling up in the last 3 years, and the capacity has also gone up. If you look at the EBITDA numbers for FY24, it was around 1500 to 1600 odd crores for FY24, and it's heading towards hitting around 1800 to 2000 crores in FY25 if you go by the Q1 numbers which is there. Plus the capacity which has gone up is going to help the company ramp up its revenue, not only revenues but EBITDA and profitability in
That's
that sense.
exactly one of the major reasons why the company is opening its IPO is to set up an integrated plant. This will include 6 gigawatts of ignore wafer capacity, 6 gigawatts of solar cell capacity, and 6 gigawatts of solar module capacity, and this will be done via an investment in its subsidiary called Sangam Solar One Private, and they will be using around 2,750 crores for this investment, and they hope to bring this capacity soon by FY27. Now, current capacity, sir, stands at 13.3 gigawatts only in solar
Yeah,
modules.
and I think 6 gigawatts is in the works, so it will come into play by FY25 end. So that takes it to around 20 in
Yes.
that sense, and then there's a phase one and phase two, which capex which they have already planned, and so a large part of that capex would come in by next 2 years, which is FY27 as we speak.
Yeah, as per the management, FI end of FY27, the solar module capacity of the company will be over 20 gigawatts. Solar cell could be around 13 gigawatts, considering an ongoing facility they are building and the proposed facility. And the ignored wafers will stand at 6 gigawatts. And with new capacity coming in, management told us that at least the operating margins could improve by 300 basis points. But in terms of capex, so the amount they have to spend, would they have to increase fundraise? What has management said?
The thing is that there's a margin expansion which is in play, and that's something which is interesting the market as well. Capex is primarily to bring in more capacity and to take care of the global demand which is there. Remember, a large part of the Waaree's production goes into export, and that's one of the key markets for them because they are one of the largest exporters of solar panels and modules to the US, and they've been a big beneficiary of that because there have been a lot of curbs coming against Chinese products, and that's what is driving demand for them in the US, and that's the reason why they are setting up a plant in the US at one
As well.
gigawatt, and that can go expand by another 3 gigawatt if required going forward.
Yeah. And when you talk about, yes, for around half of their revenues comes from exports, they also, but the other half is domestic. And when you look at the entire solar module manufacturing industry, as of FY24, where they had a capacity of around 12 to 13 gigawatts, they had 20% market share. As of now, they're not an integrated player, but once the solar cells and the wafer capacity comes in, it gives them more of an advantage in terms of their cost to make the modules, because solar cell and solar ignored wafers are key components that come into making solar module panels as well.
Yeah, and this industry or this segment is now getting built up as we speak in the markets, because the first player in this market was Premier
Yeah.
Energies, which had the first mover advantage, and so there's a huge premium attached to the valuation for Premier Energies as we speak. Waaree, if you look at Waaree, the valuation is not that much higher. It's pretty much in line with the kind of earnings which you are talking about, 10 to 11 times EBITDA forward earnings which we are talking here, and that's is something which is favorable for this company as we speak. Uh, if just to give a perspective, in FY23 they had a private placement which they undertook, and that was at around 500 odd rupees, and now it's coming at 1500 rupees, and that's because you have a large their EBITDA has also gone up by nearly 3 times over the next last 18 months, and that's the reason why there's a huge jump in the price at which they are offering the shares as compared to what they offered maybe 18 months back or August of 2023.
Also, if you have any questions, do drop them in the chat. But till then, let me just address the financial performance of the company. It's seen a strong set of results. FY24 revenue stood at over 11,300 crores, which posted a 68% year-on-year growth. When you look at their EBITDA, it stood at around 1,500 crores in FY24 versus 830 crores in FY23. So you've seen strong growth in terms of EBITDA as well. When you look at how margins have performed in the last 3 years, in FY22, the margins of the company stood at almost 4%. But in FY24, the margins have expanded significantly to 13.8%, which is expected to improve further as more and more capacity comes in. Lastly, net profit in FY24 saw a 150%, which is more than a 2 times jump to 1,274 crores.
And this margin is expected to expand by another 300 bips, because if we look at Q1 EBITDA margins is around 16.2%, and the management expects expansion of nearly 300 basis points as it goes and integrates further into the entire thing. So the synergies of the integration, which will kick in the next 12 months, will expand margins for the company.
So we could see a margins in the range of 15 to 20% at least in FY25,
Right.
depending on how the company executes their order book. Now, current order book stands at around 16 gigawatts, out of which 3.75 gigawatts is from its US subsidiary. Now, as per the DRHP of the company, this 16 gigawatt order book will be executed in the next 2 years by FY27, except the US subsidiary order of over 3 gigawatts, which will take a little longer, but their current order book will be executed for the next 2 years.
That's right. We have one question which from one of the viewers. He is asking why is there such a oversubscription to this IPO. That's the reason being very clear, that green energy is the flavor of this of the season, and there's a lot of new green companies coming into the market. We saw Premier Energy is one of the first to move in this segment, which with solar modules and others coming into the market and being given a higher valuation there. And that's one of the reasons why Waaree is also getting the same kind of interest which is there, because if you look at the pricing, it's pretty fairly in line with valuations which are in global valuations in nature. Because of the kind of the green feature which it is there, modules, manufacturing of solar cells, going backward to wafers and ingots, that integration brings in much more excitement to the investors, because then you're basically looking at manufacturing everything in India. Currently 90% of that of these modules get imported from China. That import substitution is now happening with manufacturing happening in India, and at a price which is which is as competitive as a Chinese. It's still a few cents more than what the imported modules are, but the fact is that it's getting manufactured in India, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for Indian companies to look at global markets where green energy is in demand. And that's what is also reflecting in the grey market premium of this company, because it's a huge grey market premium which is coming in for Waaree Energy as we speak, and that's pushing more investors to subscribe to this IPO.
Yeah. When you look at the demand scenario, also let me put into perspective with some data. In FY24, we had a solar module manufacturing capacity of around 80 gigawatts. But while this is sufficient to meet domestic demand, the prices do have some difference when you talk about import. But according to analysis, this by FY28, this capacity can grow to 150 gigawatts. Even our solar cell capacity as of FY24 stood very low at around 8 to 9 gigawatts, but this could have the potential to go to around 60 gigawatts by FY28. And one would think with more capacity coming in, it could hurt companies, but actually, there is enough demand because of India's focus on solar energy and renewable energy. And we have analysts saying that solar is going to be the key driver of renewable energy going forward, and this company is one of the key manufacturers of what we need to build solar capacity in the country, which is solar panels.
That's true. That's true. One of the while we are talking about the kind of technologies many of the companies are working on, this is also a very there's a risk associated in these technologies because solar technologies are changing day by day, and the kind of the generation that per unit of cell produces is also increasing. So the technologies are changing. So these companies have to constantly keep doing on technological innovations and capex so that they are in line with global standards and they can offer these products. So that capex requirement of constant capex requirement for many of these solar companies or module manufacturing companies is going to be there, whether it's Premier Energies or whether it's Waaree or whether it's Acme or Vikram Solar, which are some of the IPOs which are going to come in the next few months because they have also filed for DRHP with the market regulator. But the fact is that uh, if you are able to get a stock on through the IPO, then you should look at the long-term benefits and you should be holding on to it rather than looking at gains, even though there will be plenty of gains on the listing as we see it as of now.
And lastly, Sajit, you mentioned risk factors, and I feel like our viewers deserve to know while the demand and the financials of the company looks good, the company is highly dependent on certain key customers. The top 10 customers represent around 56% of their revenues. The firm's sales growth and is caters to mainly commercial, industrial, as well as residential sectors. So adequate demand for the company's products is something that we need to watch out for. The company is also highly dependent on exports, and that the demand from US came because of the restrictions on China.
China.
So if there's any global shift in terms of these restrictions, it could harm the company to a certain account. They also have 90% of their company's raw materials imported from China, but the company is working on this. That's why we have solar cell and wafer capacity coming in with the company is building in order to reduce that dependency. And lastly, materials and equipment sourcing, supplier, the
Basic stuff.
basics of a business could have some impact on it.
So to put it in short, it's an IPO which has a price band of 1427 to 1503. It's roughly an IPO size of 4,321 crores, which includes a fresh issue of 3,600 crores, primarily being used to expand capacity, bring down for working capital, and ensure that you have a vertically integrated company going forward. And to cater to many to global markets like US, which is going to be there. So at valuation of 43,179 crores, it looks fairly valued on an FY25 basis. It would have on an annualized EPS, it will have an EPS of 111 and a price earning of 14 times. But the EBITDA, if you look at the multiple, it's coming to 10, 11, 12 times, which is their forward earnings, and which is pretty much in line with what the global companies are also, getting in this market. And to say what the market is talking about, 5 times already been subscribed, and it's likely that it will get further subscription given the kind of scarcity this sector and companies from these sectors are there in the market currently. So that's where the demand is getting coming in, and that's why there is an oversubscription coming for Waaree Energies.